following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, a.k.a. the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua.
Welcome everybody to Exit Team Nashua. My name's Jessie. We have a nice Zoom show for you tonight, brought to you from COVID-19. We have Jasmine, as always, our lovely host, and the beautiful Shailyn here to share her story and her experience with us today. So I guess we'll kind of just jump right into it. You guys all know Jazz very well. And so Shailyn is somebody that I know through the program, and she is one of my favorite people. She's extremely strong, and she has survived a lot of trauma. And I invited her here because she's an inspiration. Shailyn, you want to tell us a little bit about, why don't you qualify a little bit for us?
Okay, so I just want to start by saying that I have the disease of addiction, but I also have severe mental health disorders. And I come from a family where alcoholism, drug addiction, and mental health issues run rampant. And so, I do believe that I inherited the disease, from my mother. And more than likely, the mental health issues and, but also like growing up around people who were alcoholic due to like the behaviors and the abuse and the lifestyle. I feel like I only knew anger, chaos, violence. Things were always very tense in my life, and the adults around me were very chaotic. And so I grew up in a constant state of fear. And so I just want to qualify as, I am a trauma survivor, and I also suffer from depression, anxiety, and PTSD. And I'm also an alcoholic and a drug addict.
It's one of the things that you are, but
it's so crazy for me to hear all that, because you shine so bright and you're so beautiful. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, so my disease already tells me, sitting here with you guys, and I speak of my disease in a third party because that's how it is for me. I do have a voice in my head that tells me lies, and the sound of my own voice, and it tells me that, I'm less than you guys. I have nothing to share with you guys. Whatever I have to say is irrelevant, and, basically that I am worthless and this is a waste of your time. And I know that that's not true, but it's just that constant fear, doubt, and insecurity. And I have extremely low, poor self-esteem. And, I'm a work in progress, and, I'm continuing to do a lot of work on myself. I'm trying to overcome that constant fear and, the disease always telling me that I'm less than, that I'm no good, that I'm disgusting, that I don't have a chance in life. And, these are just constant things that are being told to me in my head, in my own voice, on a daily basis.
Yeah, it lies to us in our own voice, which is hard. Shailyn, tell us what it was like for you growing up.
So basically, I was born to two people that really, in my opinion, had no business having children whatsoever. They were basically kids having kids, and I never knew my parents together. As far back as I can remember, it was really just me, my mother, and my brother. My mother had my brother at 18, and then she had me at 20. So, she was a single mom. And, I try to speak very highly and hold on to early memories that I have with my mother because, when I was really young, from, those first memories, maybe up until like 6 or 7, my mother was an amazing mother. She was beautiful. She was loving. She worked really hard. She took care of me and my brother. She was so vivacious, and, people were just drawn to my mom. She was absolutely like drop dead gorgeous. She went to school for nursing. She she got her LPN degree. So she worked in the nursing field. And, I was really attached to my mother. I really, I just absolutely adored her. And, and then things started to change. She was no longer loving. She was no longer vivacious. I actually watched this process take place over time, and I do know now that my mom was an addict my whole entire life. I think that these memories that I hold on to, I think that my mom was probably either like in her romance phase with drugs and alcohol, or she kind of had it under control, like on the outside it looked like she had it together, but maybe she didn't inside. I know that she really suffered from her own mental health disorders, but there came a point when she was no longer able to take care of me at all. And I was bounced around from home to home with her. She put me in a lot of really dangerous situations, and I saw a lot of things that a child should never have to be a witness to. But I will say that my older brother, I think I mentioned he was 2 years older than me. He was like a man trapped inside like a little boy's body. He was so like wise beyond his years, and he always like put me first. And he really did make sure that nothing happened to me. I think he had a fear of me being sexually molested by different men who came in and out of my home. So he would always be like right by my side. My mom would just kind of disassociate. She spent a lot of time in her bedroom. I think she spent a lot of time depressed. Watching my mother basically turn into the Walking Dead, I really started to disassociate and disconnect emotionally. And I still, as an adult, struggle with that, the disassociation emotionally. I have a really hard time with people, with relationships. I really don't know how to love another person at this point in my life. I don't know how to accept love. And I feel like a big part of that is because I don't feel worthy of love. And I've just always been extremely guarded and fearful of people in general. So, you know, that's still with me to this day. You know, so, you know, it was not a pretty scene. It was a nightmare, you know, just as an example, kind of what it was like. So I've had a lot of family members die from the disease. And there's been like just, oh my God, just a lot of tragedies happen in my family. But my mother's mother, my Nana, she was married to this man who was alcoholic. I actually used to call him Bill Pat. And his plan was to always take my grandmother to Hawaii for her 60th birthday. And we're all going to go as a family. And he actually drank himself to death. And after that happened, I was 11 years old. And I was so determined. Like, I loved my Nana so much. And I was going to save up all of my money. And we were going to go to Hawaii. So little 11-year-old me, like, went out hustling, and I saved every dollar, and I put it in this glass piggy bank that I had. And literally over, like, I don't know, like 6 to 9 months, I accumulated close to $800. It was like $700 something. And this is like, you know, 2001 or 2. And one day I came home from school and all my money was gone. And I was so devastated and I had no idea. And my mom actually, she used to show up at my school, and she used to fight with a lot of my friends' parents. She did a lot of things that were humiliating to me while she was high. And so she actually came into my school, I believe I was in 5th grade, and she was yelling at me in the lobby, telling me that the police came to the house and they fingerprinted my piggy bank, and my fingerprints were the only fingerprints on the piggy bank, and that if obviously I must be lying and that I was going to be in big trouble. So I was, you know, in fear. I was constantly in fear and scared of everybody around me because they were abusive and they were not well people. And, you know, come to find out, my mother, in fact, stole all that money for crack. And, you know, that's kind of what it was like, you know, looking back. I don't know. I have a hard time because there's so many kids like me that were brought into this world by irresponsible, selfish adults and never accepted accountability or responsibility for those children. I call myself and those other kids disposable kids because they are tormented and then they grow up and they become alcoholics or drug addicts, and, you know, usually suffer from, you know, underlying mental illness problems. So, you know, that's kind of how it was for me. And I was actually taken away from my mother shortly. Maybe I was almost 12. Yeah. A family member had witnessed my mother using drugs because back then you couldn't just put in a call, and like DCF wasn't just going to come because someone made a call. Like, another person had to physically witness the parent using drugs, and that's what happened. And I wish that I could say that things got better after that, because they really only continued to get worse for me and my brother. Originally, we were placed in the custody of our father. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, my father never wanted to be a father to me. And he is not an alcoholic. He is not a drug addict. He is just a very selfish, cowardly man. And I've been fighting for this man to love me and want to be my father my whole entire life. I do not have a relationship with him to this day. The last time I saw him, I was struggling in a sober house, and I asked him for some help, and I actually came up from Lynn to meet him in Salisbury, and he threw money at me and told me to just go fucking kill myself because I've been talking about it since I was 13, and I should just go ahead and do it so that he can move on with his life. And that it wasn't his fault that my mother stuck a needle in her arm and left him to deal with the bag of shit. So that's kind of the relationship with my father. He's always been abusive. He's a sick man. It's hard for me to understand because I understand being a drug addict and being incapable of, being a good person. Like, I don't have children, but I can understand my mother and how she wasn't able to be a mother because she was consumed by the disease. I can get that. I don't understand him. I don't like him. I don't respect him, and I'm better off without him in my life because that relationship and the hurt and the pain that stems from that relationship with him could probably like take me out, and I have to protect myself. And at the end of the day, like, that is his loss, and I don't need to fight for anybody to love me or want to have me in their life. So
Hey,
want to go back to what I was saying.
Well, okay, go back to what you were saying.
So things got worse. My father, his household was extremely abusive. My father, the only way to explain it, he is a battered husband. He has an abusive wife. Just like the battered wife with the stepfather that beats her son. My father stays in this relationship out of emotional and financial security. He allowed his wife to physically, mentally, and emotionally abuse me and my brother. I mean, this woman tormented us. I was better off in the care of my drug-addicted mother. And he literally just sat back and allowed it. So yeah, that was traumatizing. That was extremely traumatic. I've never met anyone in my life so full of hate. And I don't understand how a grown adult could have so much anger to two little kids. And all we needed was just one person to be nice to us. So basically, I went to go live with my aunt, and my brother went to go live with my grandparents. And then this is where, my story begins with alcohol and drugs.
So Shay, we have about 7 minutes. So I want you to get to your brother and your mom a little bit. And then, a little bit about the turnaround.
Yeah. Okay. So at about 11, I took my first drink, and, the mental obsession was already there, but I was 11 years old. I really didn't have too many connects. So, it was already like consuming me. I was already obsessed with it. That was the first time that I could actually breathe and had like a little bit of relief. And I knew from that moment that I had my first drunk, that whole lifestyle, like, that was for me because I was finally comfortable in my own skin. It made me feel better about myself. So, a couple years later, me and my brother are already both suffering mentally and from the disease. My brother was incarcerated at 15, and when he got out of his incarceration, he came to live with me at my aunt's house. And when he got out, he spoke of the program and how he, wanted to be sober. And he talked about meetings, and he was like introducing me to this program of recovery. And I had heard of it, obviously I have some family members in the program and, people who have been in and out of the program, but I was very skeptical about it. And my brother actually, he came home around Easter, and that summer he spent, trying to clean up his life and he was doing his best to stay sober. And he went back to school that September. He was a sophomore. I was in 8th grade. And I don't know, shortly after the school year started, my brother relapsed. And he was hanging out with a group of kids who were much older than him. And at this point, my brother, from what I know, he had like a serious problem with crack cocaine. And my brother was actually in a drunk driving accident, October 26, 2005. He was in the passenger seat, and he was ejected through the windshield. And so my brother, he died at 16. And to me, that is just like, at this point in my life, this is when I just completely gave up on any faith or any hope that I did have. I hated the world and I hated everybody in it. I no longer, I didn't strive for anything at that point. I just completely shut down. And then, I really took off and dove into drugs and alcohol as my outlet. And at that point, I started using pills. I started drinking on a regular, anything and everything that I could possibly get my hands on, because I didn't want to feel, and I didn't think it was fair either, like how many blows to the heart can one human being take? And all I knew was like hate and sorrow and sadness. And I just hated my life, and I really didn't want to live anymore. So I was obsessed with drugs and alcohol. If I didn't have it, I would have mental breakdowns. I was psychotic. I would cry. At 17, I was introduced to cocaine, and that was a whole experience in itself. I got caught up with a much older man. I was 17. He was 30 years old. He supplied drugs to all the underage kids in town. And I was an easy target because I was vulnerable. Okay,
we got about 2 minutes.
Okay. So this man introduced me to opiates, which brought me to my knees very quickly. And, the first time I ever used opiates, I was immediately in love. It became the love of my life, and I was willing to fight to the death for my right to use this drug, because it fixed me and it made me better. And it was like my miracle drug. And my life, really went down the drain very quickly. Any hope that I had left was out the window. I was that girl that, came from nothing. I wasn't really expected to live very long. I was reckless and destructive, and I did not have a care in the world. I started going to jails, institutions. I was sectioned many times. The progression, obviously goes on, but I was incarcerated for my first time in 2014. I was sentenced to 6 months, and 5 days into that incarceration, they came down and told me that my mother had died from the result of a drug overdose. And so I'm in state prison at this time. And that's my reality. And I had to set everything aside, and, I had to be tough, because, you can't really be vulnerable in jail, and it's already like you're kind of in a different reality when you're locked up like that. So I got out after 6 months. I was ready to die. I actually, I told family members that, if they wanted to spend time with me, they should probably take advantage of this time, because more than likely I was going to die from the disease. I didn't have anything left anymore. I went on a really long, hard run. It was about a year, and then I got locked up again. This time I was locked up for 1 year. And, nothing really changed. I didn't have any type of spiritual awakening. I was going to get out and do the same exact thing. I got out and, I relapsed for a few months. And within those few months, I probably overdosed at least 6 times, having to be Narcaned and brought to the hospital. And, I was ready to die and I wanted to die. And by some, miracle, it took this one person cared about me. This one person reached out to me and told me where to go and that it would be okay and that they were going to handle it and they were going to get me in somewhere. And so I listened to this person. I figured, why not? Let's just kind of see where this takes us. I was still hopeless and, I had no idea how to live. And I just listened and I got into a program. And, that's when people started coming into my life. And I just had to rewire my brain. I was so damaged at this point, and I was still very reckless and destructive. So I decided to hang out with the wrong people. I was still acting out in old behaviors because this lifestyle is all I've ever known. It's all I've ever been taught, and it's everything I've been around. So it was very uncomfortable to try to learn, the proper way to live or what's normal, being a productive member of society. I was selling prescription pills and just doing the wrong thing. I didn't use, but I got kicked out of that sober house for bad behaviors. So I ended up, going to a different sober house. And that's when my life started to get better. I removed myself from toxic people and, the area that I grew up in, which was, initially my stomping grounds. And, I moved to Lynn, Massachusetts. And, that's where, I started to do a little bit of work. And, I kind of discovered that life in sobriety is actually very beautiful. And that, I'm not worthless and that I deserve to have a chance. I deserve to have love in my life. I deserve to laugh. And if I gave myself that chance, 100%, I could have that. And I didn't have to be controlled by where I came from, the drugs and the stigma.
Shailyn, your story is amazing. And we're so grateful that we got to hear about your past and where you come from. And, your life is beautiful today. And I want to have you back so we can, talk about it a little bit more, just because, we're on a time crunch and we're down to about a minute. But I know she's powerful and she's really great. Shailyn is such a strong woman, and it's just the things she has overcome are just unreal. Really, she really inspires me. And she's so smart and beautiful too. She's got so much potential. And
oh, thank you guys.
Yeah, she's just one of the best people I know. So thank you so much for coming and sharing, so openly and honestly with us. And, we'll definitely have you come back on, especially when we're in the studio. It'll be fun to have you come back on again. So thanks everybody for tuning in and watching tonight and listening to Shailyn share. And, we'll see you guys again soon. Hopefully it will be in the studio, but if not, we'll bring you another Zoom session. So if you're struggling, reach out. We care and we're here. So thanks everybody.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.